Look, if Matt Jeffrey is going to be on this field and Matt Jeffrey is going to be healthy, I'm picking Cheshire.
I think Masuk's defense is good, but it's not Cheshire's defense.
Don't offend the Masuk defense. They're very touchy.
Yeah, well, listen, I think they're good. I mean, but they've been prone to giving up a lot of points. They have some guys that fly the ball. They might get a little reckless. I don't really know. But I think Cheshire's very disciplined on defense. Lots of guys on that defense. The defense has really been a big part of why. It's kind of a different offense. You need to get Matt Jeffrey to do his thing, but I think the defense is what does that, what makes that team.
We're the best in state. There's nothing else to say. Our defense is the best in state. We're the best in state. I think we're the best in state.
We're at the best right now. Like, we're at our peak, but we're not there yet. We still have the next 2 games to go. Wilton next. Great team. Wilton, good defense, I've heard. We're just going to stick to what we're good at, and good things should happen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And I am your host, Sean Patrick Bowley, and with me, as always, is Pete Paguaga. Pete, how you doing? You thawed out yet?
Barely. I'm still wearing the hat I wore last night. It's got a little fleece underneath to keep this old dome piece warm. But no, I woke up this morning freezing. I like wind burn on my face. It was cold Tuesday night.
It was cold. It's that time of year. We are hitting December. We're not quite at December, but we have reached the postseason in CIAC football quarterfinals. 24 games last night. That's 48 teams down, 24 remaining. And at the top of the show, you heard a little bit from the scene at Benedict Field and Masuk, where I was given the business by the Masuk Panthers, which just demolished Matt Jeffrey and Cheshire in the cosmetically good-looking score of 42-21. It wasn't even that close. And as you recall, as you heard in the intro, I said I did not think Masuk's defense was Cheshire's defense. And boy, was I proven incorrect. Just an incredible performance by the Panthers, who now advance to the semifinals. The Matt Jeffrey era is over just days after that thrilling win on Thanksgiving. And, what can you say? It's that time of year again where there's a lot of crazy results. I mean, you were at a game with a crazy result. There were just some interesting things that happened out there in the quarterfinals. Some surprises, some not so surprises, as you'll hear from Pete, who just nailed a few of these things. Man, you talk about people who are on fire in the picks. Pete was just killing it this week, and not me so much, as you saw in that intro. But Pete, you quickly take a look at these brackets here. I want to give me an overall picture of how you think this broke down. We'll break it all down in a second, but what are your big takeaways from Tuesday night?
I think there was a lot of it happened the way we thought it would. There was a couple ones that stood out. I think we all thought the Masuk Cheshire game was kind of a coin flip. Both two really good teams. I thought Darien was going to cruise past Naugatuck, and though Naugatuck did hang 28 on them, they beat them by 2 scores. Double M, 2 great semifinals. M, Berlin, Rockville, close game. Obviously that went Rockville's favor. Everything else we kind of thought would happen. Same in S. Then we get to double S. This is where it got a little funky. Watertown beats Granby.
Oy. It was
so
great.
You got Granby, who the best team in the Pequot, whatever. They beat Rockville this year. They can't beat Watertown, but Rockville can beat Berlin.
That is the redheaded stepchild division.
Yeah, and then Gilbert, Tallinn, that was kind of a coin flip too. Sheehan, Cruz, we saw that. I think it was 33-0 in the first half. They won 33-0. And this was another head scratcher. Joel Barlow only beat Coggenshock by 7?
Okay.
I mean, I know we've kind of given Coggenshock the business here on the show. either that's a really bad performance by Barlow or kudos to Coggins. I guess we'll learn on Sunday whether or not Sheen runs them off of Richatelli Field. But, I mean, I think the brackets kind of went the way that we thought they would. It wasn't as crazy as last year. Remember, there were all those crazy upsets last year, and everyone was touting about how amazing the first round was. I don't think, I mean, the Watertown one is the one that stands out to me. I think everything else, there were close games. I think we all thought Prep and Staples was going to be close.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
You know,
they're gonna win.
But, you know, Stanford Greenwich was close at half. Greenwich pulled away. Like, all of this kind of went the way that we thought. And, you know, some of these divisions look a lot better than others. And, you know, it was nice to be on the winning side of a lot of these, especially in the picks. But I will say about Masuk's defense, and obviously they played great. They've allowed 87 points to Bloomfield and Notre Dame Fairfield, who were Class S schools. So let's just, you know, they played well, but let's not, you know, crown them the 85 Bears or even the 2022.
They played like that. I almost put
Rams.
that tweet out there. They were playing like they were smothering. We'll get to that.
I don't think the 85 Bears allowed 50 points in a season.
Well,
I know I'm being a little fizzy.
Let's run it down. Let's look at the overall picture in the state playoffs. You know, we didn't touch on this last week, but some conferences did better than others. But here's the conference outlook. First of all, the Southwest Conference had a great night, 4-1. The only team they lost was Bunnell, and that was to a pretty hot Windsor team. The FCIAC, another great night for them, 5-2 overall. The SEC, especially the Tier 1 teams, kind of a mixed bag. Shelton loses to Newtown on a fluke, and obviously Cheshire losing to Masuk. The NVL mixed bag there as well. Naugatuck, of course, going down to Darien, but as you mentioned, especially in Class Double F, Gilbert Northwest Hoosie defeating Tolland 22-16, and Watertown, the aforementioned Watertown, 26-12 over number 1 seed Granby Canton, and of course Ansonia, which is now held together with duct tape, with 3 regular starters out and maybe another one on the way. Ansonia not looking great there, but the Chargers still managed to get by Waterbury Career Academy 28-14 to advance to the semifinals. Moving down the list, the CTC, only 2 teams in. ATI demolishing Northwest United this time. It wasn't even close. Well, at least Thanksgiving maybe was a little close, but they demolished Northwest United. That's 2 straight wins over them over as many weeks. Now they go into the semifinals. The first CTC team to get a team in the semifinals. So congrats to them. The CCC, such a big conference, so it's really hard to really gauge, but 4-6 overall. The Pequot, not a great night for the Pequot, 2-4 overall. And the ECC just got kicked out of the postseason. See you next year, ECC. So that is the conference outlook overall. Overall in the top 10, we didn't do the top 10 last week, but 8-2 overall with the number 8 and 9 teams, Cheshire and Naugatuck, going down. So
speaking of the NVL quickly before we get into the matchups, I don't want to jump too ahead. After the performance of this past week of the NVL, or the higher ups to the NVL of the last couple of weeks, I am making a vow. Until proven otherwise, I am vowing to never vote for an NVL team on my ballot until I stop doing this. That's it. I just need to put it out there. The NVL does not deserve a team that gets a vote. I mean, the fact that Ansonia was getting a first place vote all year and they were in the top 10, and then they got, you know, they lost by 20 on Thanksgiving, and then Naugatuck loses by 2 touchdowns in the first round of the playoffs. By NVL, you are now in the area of Pequot schools that I will not vote for on my ballot at all, ever. So just needed to put it out there. I don't like the dance on teams losing, but
anything really. I mean, how many times did you vote them this year?
I voted Naugatuck. I got them at 15 after they finished the season 10-0. I've voted Ansonia before, but now I'm hashtag done. Okay. The NVL is not it's not your grandpa's NVL. It's just not a competitive conference anymore, and I don't know if that's because they only play each other. I don't know if joining the alliance is the answer. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying statewide scheduling is the answer. But I'll tell you this right now, there's not one team in the NVL that's like frightening. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll do it on a case by case basis. I think maybe a little overreaction. I mean, but hey, they did not. Naugatuck needed to win that game to prove its medal in that number 1 seed, and that did not happen. So, it
30 years
fair
since
criticism.
Naugatuck. 31. It'll be 31 years next year. The last time Naugatuck has won a playoff game.
It is fair criticism, but I mean, I wasn't certainly doing that. I never had Anson much higher than 11 or 10 this year. So, all right, so let's just break down everything that happened in each of the 6 divisions. Starting at the bottom, we'll start with Ansonia facing Waterbury Career Academy in the 1-8 game, and the Chargers had to squeak out a 28-14 victory in a game that saw Makai Ingram, Sean Richards, Aiden Mercer all out due to injuries. They lost Preston Zabina on the first series of the game, and Waterbury Career Academy was actually within 14-7 after 3 quarters, but Quintez Whittle scored a couple touchdowns, the first of which put the Chargers ahead for good, and Ansonia squeaks into the semifinals with a 28-14 victory. They will face number 4 Cromwell Portland. Emeka Yearwood ran for 120 yards and a touchdown and had 2 fourth-quarter sacks to help preserve a 26-18 victory over ECC Division II runner-up Griswold Wheeler. I accidentally last week got called out for it. Said that Griswold Wheeler was the ECC Division II champs. Who cares now? They're out. They were the runner-up to win them, but who cares? They're out of the playoffs now. So that's the top half of the bracket. Cromwell Portland goes to Ansonia. They play once again at the Filippo Field in Derby. In the bottom half of the bracket, both Notre Dame Fairfield and Bloomfield making short work of their opponents. Notre Dame Fairfield, number 6, Antoine Davis, scored 3 touchdowns and gained 180 yards on 22 carries as they defeated Oxford and our guys 35-0 to advance. And in the other game, Bloomfield, Davian Kerr, that's Davian with an E, having a great season, ran for 3 touchdowns and had a touchdown catch as they made short work of Morgan, Old Saybrook, Westbrook Co-op 42-0. So there, Pete, is your Class S semifinals. Ansonia, Cromwell, Portland, Bloomfield, Notre Dame, Fairfield. I guess we make some picks now, Pete. I guess we'll start with you. Well, who do you got in this Ansonia, Cromwell, Portland game? Ansonia injuries stacking up very quickly.
Yeah, the injuries are definitely stacking up, and I'll tell you this, a lot of Class S schools, a lot of NVL schools are afraid to go play at Ansonia. Now, obviously, this game is not going to be played at Jarvis, but it is going to be played in the Valley. But one team that's not afraid is Cromwell Portland. Let's flash back a couple of years. They went in there in 2021 and absolutely laid the hammer down on the Chargers. That was like Teddy Williams. Yeah, he obviously had a great season, but that was like the big one, right? 4th all-time in receiving yards in a game, 2-something. I mean, Cromwell's not afraid to play Ansonia in the playoffs. And with all the injuries that they have, I'm just going to go with Cromwell in this game. I think that, honestly, it feels like the safer pick at this point.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, that was if they had defeated, if Waterbury Career Academy somehow pulled that off, that would have been Ansonia. I mean, it's not an official NVL game. That would have been their first non-Naugatuck loss since 2009, I think. Just a crazy, ridiculous performance there. I mean, not bad. I mean, not bad by Waterbury Career Academy, but Ansonia is very, very, very tough. I'm going to go with the Panthers too. And in the bottom game, well, Pete, I already know what you're going to pick because you picked them to win it all. But I'll start off here. I'm going to pick Bloomfield to defeat Notre Dame Fairfield. Just to kind of go against grain here, but Bloomfield seems to be, apparently they had a ton of injuries too that maybe we didn't talk too much about that led to the Windsor loss at the end of the year. Who knows? I'm just going to go with the Warhawks. The Kurds are really tough, and so is their quarterback. So that's who I'll take. But what do you got?
Everyone has injuries when they lose, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they did or didn't. Windsor is a great team that they lost to, whether they had injuries or not. I saw Bloomfield beat Masuk, but Masuk also scored 43 points in 2 quarters and a drive before, everyone realized that the quarterback was coming back in the game for Masuk. I'm going with Notre Dame Fairfield here. I did obviously pick them to win. I think they're really good. I think this is a really solid team that played really good teams during the regular season in the SWC. Not to sneeze at Bloomfield. They played Masuk and they played They played Masuk and they played Windsor. Took them a major comeback to beat Masuk when Notre Dame handled Masuk only a couple of weeks ago. Like, let's not forget that. Like, yeah, Notre Dame Fairfield kind of laid down when they played Bunnell and they lost to Pomperog, but they handled Masuk a couple of weeks ago, putting 37 points up against the 85 Masuk Panthers defense. So I'm going with the Lancers here. I think I think they will get to the finals, play Cromwell Portland, and it'll disappoint everyone with their preseason prediction of Bloomfield and Ansonia.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. If it does, I'll be shocked, but I do like Bloomfield to get there. Okay, so that is Class S. Let's move up to Class Double S. If there was a theme for this, it would be the upside down division, Watertown, defeating Granby Canton 26-12. What are you laughing at?
I mean, good credit to Watertown. Just credit to them. Granby, what are we doing? You have to win the game.
Aiden Arline ran 14 times or 120 yards and 3 touchdowns as what are they called now? Are they still the Indians? I don't even know what they're. Well, Watertown defeated Granby Canton 26-12. The school's first playoff victory since 1986. My goodness, almost 40 years. Not a bad job by a team that was kind of middling in NVL Tier 1 or whatever they call it, the brass or I don't even know. That is so. Watertown advances. Is
there even an upper level of the NVL?
Yeah, I do. Pete's just on a roll. Anti-NVL man. In the other game, the number 5 Gilbert Northwest Housatonic, only in second year now in the NVL and making his third straight playoff appearance, gets to the semifinals. Aiden Avinia was in on 15 tackles and ran for 78 yards and a touchdown on 14 carries as the Highlanders or the Yellow Jackets defeated Holland 26-16 in Double S. Evan Sheeby ran for 107 yards and a touchdown on 12 carries and was in on 14 tackles. So they advanced to play Watertown. It is a rematch of a 12-7 Watertown victory in the regular season. So get your tickets now. In the bottom half of the bracket, number 7 Barlow with a defensive effort and pulled away from Coggins-Chug 13-6. Nice job by Coggins-Chug, but they are ousted by the defending champ Falcons. And in the bottom half of the bracket, of course, our guys Sheehan out of the SEC. Dante Donuzzo caught a 14-yard touchdown pass from Paul Gorey and returned an interception 75 yards for a score in the first quarter as they went on to win 33-0 over Wyndham. And, that's no shock there for Sheehan. Barlow now goes to Riccatelli Field in Wallingford for a Class SS semifinal game, and a game that a lot of people might be billing the actual championship game. If all goes well here, we'll see. But the defending champs now got to take on Sheehan, our darling team in Class SS. Pete, we'll start off with that one. What do you think, Sheehan?
Yeah, I got a text message this morning from a friend of mine. He lives in Wallingford. His son plays youth football for the Wallingford football team. He's like one of the youth coaches. He texted me and he's like, "Hey, do you know what time the game on Sunday is at Sheehan? Like, I gotta try and take off work because his kid wants to go." And I said, "Why are you taking off on Sunday?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Take off Saturday, December 9th." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because Sheehan's going to go and win a state title. Who cares about the semifinal game? They're going to go to either Central, they're going to go to UConn, they're going to win their second title since 2019. Sheehan's going to win this game." Look, Coggins-Chug played very well. Hats off to them. Congratulations. Joe Barlow needs to score more than 13 points against a Pequot team if they want to even have a shot to play Sheehan. Easy, hands down, Titans going to the finals easily.
Yeah, and this topsy-turvy division, very weak division, Sheehan stands head and shoulders above everybody else. Prove me wrong, Barlow. Prove me wrong. I'm going with the Titans, too. I mean, that's... The gloves are off. The extra bat is, they finally get to drop the extra couple bats that the SEC gives them. Now it's like it'll be free swinging in the semifinals. At least I think so. In the upper part, I'll go first, Pete. I'm just gonna flip a coin here. I'm going to say Gilbert Northwest Regional actually gets to the final here. They defeat Watertown. Why? I don't know. I just think that's the way it's going to go. I'm going to go with the Yellow Jacket. Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one because since that 12-7 win by Watertown, Gilbert has won 5 straight.
Yeah.
Watertown lost 2 in a row to Woodland and Holy Cross. Gilbert beat Holy Cross. Then they beat Torrington to get in, and they obviously beat Granby to get here. I'm taking Gilbert. I think Gilbert is the hot hand. And this game is technically a home game for Gilbert, which it's not being played at home. But I think, and I could be wrong, I think this will be the first home game for Gilbert in the playoffs since 2010 when they were the 4 seed. And then on the flip side, if you want to say, I think Sheehan, Sheehan hosted a first-round game in 2019. I was going to say, because I knew that they didn't have like a top record, so they might have been on the road in 2019. But in 2018, they had a home playoff game against Berlin in the semifinals, and they lost. So I was going to say, this might be the first playoff game since then, but obviously I was incorrect. So we're both going with Sheehan and Gilbert.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're not going to play that. I guess, Van Wy Field, it's one of the quirky fields that no one knows about it, and Pete knows about it more than I do, but I was able to actually go cover a game there last year, and because they're on top of a hill, the hill drops off the football field, so instead of kicking extra points on one side, they turn around, they go all the way at the end of the field, and they kick their extra point.
I think they changed that. I believe I saw that they added a net. I'm imagining that they moved the game because it's not turf.
I don't know, yeah. I mean, semifinal.
And that's why. Why else would they moved Ansonia twice?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This time of year, though, it gets it gets hard on the grass. It's a different era. But so that game will be played at the Frost Complex at Torrington. Be there or be square. Get your tickets now. As I said, moving up to Class M, or AKA the Hand Invitational.
Are we even going to really spend time on this?
Yeah, let's run it down. Let's start at the top. Aiden Dolan on 30 carries ran for 258 yards and scored 2 touchdowns as the Tigers built a 29-0 lead and hung on late to defeat St. Joseph's 29-14. It was actually not even that close. The Tigers advanced, knocked St. Joseph off to face ATI. Javion Hill caught 3 passes for 128 yards on a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. He forced the fumble and broke up 2 passes. Have a day, kid, in the 55-0 victory over at Northwest United. Keith Saunders had a great game, ran for touchdowns of 40 and 70 yards on just 2 carries, and he actually caught a 64-yard touchdown pass and actually threw 2 passes, 1 for a touchdown. They just ran it up there and closed the book on 2 straight wins over Northwest United. I mean, just clearly the fallout from last week's or 2 weeks ago shenanigans. I don't know really quite what happened in that game, but Northwest
Karma is real.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't quite hear what you said there, but yeah, Northwest United quietly goes into that night after that big showdown we were waiting for, and ATI, great job at facing the guys to get to the semis. But now you got to play hand. That was the CTC's first, as a conference, their first playoff victory, and had to come against one of the other teams. So good luck against hand. We shall see. And in the bottom half of the bracket, number 6, Holy Cross defeats SMSA Co-op out of the Pequot, 40-22. Marquise Campbell, I think his old man was on our YouTube page saying he was going to have a great game, and sure enough, he did. Ran for 4 touchdowns. They had an interception to lead the Crusaders into the semis, and Zakir Kerr from SMSA ran for 2 touchdowns and had a 2-point conversion, threw for a touchdown in the losing effort. They advanced to play Rockville, which avenged their semifinal loss last year to Berlin, which one of the shocking scores of the night. 14-13, Amir Knighton, who did not play the first game last year because he was injured all year, ran for 146 yards and a touchdown on 35 carries, and he was in on the to block the point after kick that Berlin scored late to maybe tie the game, but Rockville gets that extra point. The extra point no good, and hang on, 14-13 to get to the semifinals. Lexington Hunter from Rockville had 10 tackles and a sack. and he was also in on the point after kick. So your boys, Pete, they continue to screw you after you just could not bring yourself to pick them last week. And this game against Holy Cross, Pete, at Rockville, who do you got against the Holy Cross team? Probably tired of hearing everybody asking what's wrong with you guys.
What a weird season for Holy Cross. Obviously 7-3. I watched them beat Woodland in overtime, and you're like, wow, both these teams are going to be good. Yep. They got blown out by Naugatuck. It was 35-0 at half. Obviously, they lost to Ansonia, but they got blown out by Ansonia. It was 50-6 after keeping it close last year. And then they lost to Gilbert. I mean, and then they only beat Watertown by 1. This isn't Holy Cross from last year. But, flip side, and I have to correct something I said earlier, Granby Canton did not beat Rockville. Rockville actually beat them 34-0. You were there. It was the replay of the game. That's my apology to Rockville. Did not mean to offend. That said, Rockville's loss is to SMSA, 30-7. Well, guess what? Holy Cross just put 40 on SMSA. I picked Rockville last year in the semifinal. It was more of a homer pick. It was more of not a homer pick. Berlin's great. But I just, Rockville, they've just been there, right? The first year we did this show, ring the bell. They made the playoffs. In my head, full circle moment, they win a state title, right? And they burned me. But, man, they got a mere Knighton. And this guy can play. He can play. And despite Holy Cross, despite knowing that I should be better than this and I should pick better than this, but this is where I got in trouble in the semifinals last year, I'm going with Rockville here. I don't care that their common opponent is SMSA. I think Rockville is playing better football. They had a stinker in 2021. You were there when they got blown out by Stafford. And then they turned it on and were able to get to the finals and ran into a good Killingly team that they played with. I'm going with Rockville in this game. I think they get back to the finals.
Pete, I'm going to go against you here. I'm going to go with Holy Cross. Marcus Campbell, excuse me. Great game. I expect a lot of that. I think he's kind of next level here at this point. And they have plenty of weapons. And when they're on, man, they're on. They can be on.
Are they going to be on, though?
I'm going to say yes. I say that Rockville squeaked by a good Berlin team. So that was good. Could they be? Absolutely. But I'm going with Holy Cross here, Pete.
They beat Watertown by 1.
I just got a feeling. Well, talk about teams that are going to don't worry about the regular season. We are now in season 2. We are in the postseason. Everyone's got to step it up again. I'm going with Holy Cross. And in the other game, Pete, no shot.
I'm
going to go with hand too to get to the final.
But just quickly on ATI, I don't want to jump past them. It's a great season for Chris Pace. CTC obviously gets their first win in the playoffs. It came at the expense of another CTC team, but karma is real, and put up 55 on him. I think they sent the message loud and clear. So good season for ATI, but they're running into a bus on Daniel Hand.
Yep, absolutely. The Hand of an Invitational continues. Let's go to Double M. Let's start at the top. Number 1, Windsor, just playing great. They won their 8th straight game, 41-19 over Bunnell. John Manning ran 21 times for 144 yards. And A.J. Robinson threw 3 touchdown passes as they made pretty short work of Bunnell in that game. In the other game, Fitch actually had a lead against North Haven. What was it, 10-7 at halftime? But in the second half,
it was like 7-2 at one point.
Just crazy. Fitch showing that they learned something from that first game. But North Haven, the defending champs, Adam Pandolfi ran for 147 yards and 4 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score in the third quarter, 41-22. They advanced to face Windsor in the 1-5 game. And at the bottom, Joey Haggerty ran for over 100 yards and threw for 3 touchdowns and a 35-14 victory over Platt, a rematch of the regular season game. Also won, I think it was like the same score, right? Like 34-14, I don't know, something close like that. But Joey Haggerty gets Wilton to the semis. And then we get to the game over at Benedict Field. Number 2, Masuk defeating Cheshire 42-21 in a game that I attended. And you know who else was there, Pete? Ned Griffin, formerly of the Day, now doing the coaches bowl for the Hartford Current, and former Day sports editor Chuck Banning. Oh my goodness. Good to see those guys out there. We also had a Joe Morelli sighting here. Joe Morelli covering for us. Listen, that game, it was a toss-up game, probably one of the best on-paper matchups of the game. You had Jason Champagne and Masuk on one side. You had Jeffrey coming back after that thrilling, we talked all last week. We made a huge deal out of it. That thrilling victory, 34-20 over Southington to get in as the 7th seed after losing 2 straight going into Thanksgiving. And, right off the bat of this game, Pete, you saw it. Matt Jeffrey picking up where he left off in that game with picking up the lateral thrown by Rob Klein in the flat, taking it in for a touchdown, 7-0 Cheshire. And that was as good as it got for Cheshire. Masuk won the coin toss and deferred, choosing to kick the Cheshire with the win. And that decision paid huge dividends. That and the swarming defense led by Eli Belazor, Ryan Putnam, Luke Longo, and Jason Cassazi. They flew around and Cheshire had no shot. Not the quarterback, not Jeff Gonzalez, not Matt Jeffrey. The Rams didn't get a first down until 4 minutes remained in the first half. Just a swarming defensive performance. Meanwhile, a short punt and Champagne easily scampers into the end zone to tie the score with a 25-yard punt return touchdown. And on offense, Masuk moved the ball at will against the wind in the second quarter. They only scored 7 in the first quarter. Champagne started with a 32-yard touchdown run. Rob Klein ran it in from 3 yards out. And then Colin Hope caught a short TD pass for a 28-7 halftime lead. My goodness, considering that the all-time greatest comeback was 28 points, Cheshire was in dangerous territory. And in the second, more Masuk. Hope with the nice swing patch, diving touchdown at the pylon. And Max Viglione caught a 13-yard touchdown from Rob Klein. It was briefly 42-7 and running time before Cheshire added a couple of cosmetic touchdowns. Adam Verdon had a nice pick 6 to break the running time, and Jeffrey Gonzalez scored late. But Cheshire's season ends. The Matt Jeffrey era comes to a close. He finished with an interception and the fumble recovery touchdown. But Masuk, despite all the coaching turmoil, has managed to stay resilient. The defense played great, and afterwards, here they are calling themselves, that's the King's chagrin, calling themselves the best defense in the state.
We're the best in state. There's nothing else to say. Our defense is the best in state. We're the best in state. I think we're the best in state.
Our defense is obviously great at a lot of stuff. Probably, you got to be the best defense in the state of Connecticut, and I stand on that.
Was that the best performance all year?
If our offense didn't play so poorly in the beginning, it would be a shutout. So that pretty much tells you that.
We talked before the game that things will and might probably go wrong, and they did, as you saw in that first drive. Things happen, and they were able to capitalize, but we were able to stay calm. No one flinched, and we just told, hey, play the next play, and that's what we do. And the kids, it's not just a cliche. They just went and played the next play, and they know how good they can be when they do their jobs, and we always stress that. Don't try to do more than you can do, and that's that's what we ask our boys.
How important to keep Jeffrey in the reps and the job that they did?
I think we had our whiteboard. We put a big 4 and circled it, and there was whenever he was on the field, we had to know where he was, and again, Coach Linderbeck, he had adjustments made, so he was we were well aware of his whereabouts on the field.
How you guys been able to keep together?
We're sticking together as a family, coming to work every day, pushing each other, and we all want the same goal of winning a state championship, but that comes within coming to practice every day, putting our hardest in, and sticking to our jobs, and that'll eventually lead to our overall goal.
Wilton next.
Yep. Great team, Wilton, good defense I've heard. We're just going to stick to what we're good at, and good things should happen.
And a little hyperbole there from those guys, and Jeff Lever now, who's the de facto interim coach out of this group. But again, we've said it all season long, at least the last half of the season. Despite all this stuff, Masuk just continues to outperform in it. And that was one of the interesting things I asked Jason Champagne. I'm like, who's calling the plays here? You guys call most of the plays. Could you guys run this team without coaches? And even Jeff Lever said it after the game. We just put you in the right spots. You guys did all the work here. And I'm almost thinking it's like the collective Masuk. Could they not even have coaches? Again, like I said, hyperbole a bit here, but hey, that's a great job by Masuk. And afterward, we heard a lot of complaints coming from the Cheshire side. one of the things that the parents and the Cheshire side was not happy about was that Masuk somehow made Cheshire sit on the buses in the cold. Cheshire had to do the halftime in the buses, even though there's another locker room there at Masuk. So maybe some shenanigans going on here. The CIAC usually says you got to have another locker room, but I don't really quite know what the situation is there. But there are a lot of complaints that also Masuk field is different. Listen, if you watch some of the plays by Champagne, he didn't get the memo that his field is different because he was also slipping on the field easy. He was also slipping and falling on the field too. And so listen,
I don't want to speculate on the field, but if the locker room thing is, that's gamesmanship. Maybe you could chalk that up. That's also extremely immature. And kind of bullish, and if there was an adult in the room, that probably wouldn't have happened. But like you said, the kids are running the team, so.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry you lost, Cheshire, and you can complain to the CIAC about the locker room.
I don't know if it's the Cheshire football team here. Let's not. We know where the complaints are coming from, and none of it has been from actual members of the coaching staff or anything at Cheshire. Yeah. I'm gonna parents is fine. That's one thing, but let's not.
I get you're mad, guys. I get you're mad, but they're not taking the not taking the points off the board. Not after a performance like that. So Masuk heads into the semifinals against Wilton. Want me to go? I'll go first on this, Pete. Wilton, the team we've liked all year long. Obviously Joey Haggerty and the guys have been great. EJ D'Annunzio getting to the semis now, an amazing job. I think this is the second year in a row now. They have gone to the semifinals. I say the road, though, ends here. That was a dominant performance by Masuk's defense, despite, them having short memories a little bit. But Jason Champagne is continuing having a great season. And listen, Colin Hope has been great, too. And there's been a lot of their offensive line played great. I'm going to go with Masuk here to defeat Wilton and get to the state championship game for the first time since 2017. Pete.
Oh, you have such recency bias. It's disgusting.
Me?
Wilton. Yeah, you. Wilton has played.
I'm talking to the king of recency bias.
Why'd you pick Cheshire and then Masuk this week?
Well, Matt Jeffrey came back for Cheshire. That's why.
I know. But look, let's look at overall, things that these teams have done this year. I am going to pick Wilton. They beat some really good teams, including Shelton at the end of the year. Dominated Shelton the week before Thanksgiving. Masuk's a really good team. Don't get me wrong. This game's going to be a classic. But I'm going with Wilton in this game. Their defense is so good. You want to talk about good defense? That's a defense that has allowed more than 20 points twice this season. Twice. Not 50. They allowed more than 20 twice. I'm going with the Warriors.
Fair enough. All right. Let's go up to the top here. No, we
might split on this one, too.
Very fascinating game. Number 1, Windsor playing the defending champions, number 5, North Haven, and the single wing. North Haven also with a kind of a tumultuous season, forfeited at the beginning of the year. Some still unexplained incidents happening there. But right now they've kind of put that aside, and they are now back in the semifinals, one win away from getting to actually defend their title. But they are playing a Windsor team that is red hot. I went first last time, Pete. I will hand it to you. Who do you got?
I believe we might split on this one. Look, you know what was really cool about the North Haven game was seeing Adam Pandolfi have a big day. He obviously came back from an injury earlier this year and was slowly integrated back in. They had guys, right? Thompson and Doge, they had a lot of guys that could play on this team, and this North Haven team is super talented. But they're running into a really, really good Windsor team with athletes all over the place. A.J. Robinson, who we talk about, but we don't really talk about his numbers. He's got 35 passing touchdowns this year. Maxine Copeland is awesome. John Manning is having a great year. This is a team that played with New Canaan for a half before injuries, adjustments, just kind of all fell apart for them. And what has Windsor done since then? Win. So I'm going with Windsor here. I'm taking both the Warriors, an all-Warrior final in Double M. Sean, I think you're going the other way here.
I can't go the other way. I picked Windsor to win the state championship last week.
Okay. I thought we were going to split on this one.
I picked them to win a state championship. Didn't I pick them to win a state championship last week?
Last week, dude, though, everything's a blur.
I don't remember. I have to go with Windsor. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to go with Windsor. At their home field. I don't know. I mean, they're going to have trouble with this single wing, and I would like to pick North Haven, but I'm not going to because I already picked Windsor. So kind of a tough spot. It's going to be a great game. A great semifinal in this division. What this division is in semifinal is what Class Double S is in the semifinals. So that is Class Double M. We got 2 more left.
I'm stunned. I thought this was going to be a full split for us when I looked at the Double M. I'm like, I'm going to go with Wilton and Windsor. I think Sean might go Masuk, North Haven. By the way, they're totally clipping that. Oh, I want to pick North Haven thing just in case they win.
Oh yeah, no, they save receipts at North Haven. In fact, they are still complaining about how Windsor did not started the season when the CIAC released their playoff divisions. Windsor was an L, but then dropped to Double M. I think like a day later or so after we had posted it, and they were wondering, whoa, what the heck's that? How'd that happen? There was really no explanation, and they didn't readjust the divisions. So I actually don't know the answer to that. I'd like to know.
I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time that the CIAC has made a mistake in terms of seeding. Didn't they completely forget? Didn't they forget to count an entire season of basketball like 2 years ago?
I don't recall. But
they didn't count the COVID season when they were putting together the what's it called?
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. COVID season was a weird season, though. Well, the thing is, they're not going to move them up to L now in North Haven, so you got to play. Complaining is not going to do anything good here. Anyway, you got to move up. I will say, after the quarterfinals every year, there's a lot of acrimony.
Yes.
There's a lot of acrimony, a lot of just really mean-spirited, oh, well, this.
A lot of finger pointing, a lot of complaining, more complaining than in the regular season. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it last night, but I woke up this morning and I saw more stuff, and I'm like, everyone is just so angry.
Yeah. Listen, it's hard. Your team was alive and kicking just 5 days prior, and now you're done. It's weird. It's a weird turnaround. You go from Thursday to Tuesday, and it's a night game. You go from the pageantry of Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden now it's in the middle of the night with crowds. I don't know about your games. Masuk didn't really show up. Cheshire showed up, but Masuk didn't really show up at my game. I don't know what the crowds were like in the other games, but that Tuesday night was a tough night to get out of the game. So I did like how Masuk.
It's a quick turnaround.
I do like how Masuk students showed up, not quite in force, but they did show up with their ski gear on, their goggles. I like that line of thinking, Masuk. So all right, so we're going to move up to Class L. Very interesting division here, man. Lots of familiar faces. We'll start at the top with number 8, Darien. Andy Grant, first-year coach, winning his first game over the top-seeded Naugatuck games in a game that Pete said he was so confident in. He was going to bet the whole house and his entire mortgage on that game, and he would have been made out like a bandit in that one. But, interesting game. Charlie, Tom, and Luke Caesar scored 3 touchdowns apiece and knock off the unbeaten NVL champions who just could not stop Darien from scoring and losing their first and last game of the season. Naugatuck's Ryan Dielbaum had a 55-yard kickoff return touchdown to make it a 14-14 game in the second quarter, but Tom put Darien up for good on a 10-yard TD catch from Ben Rollup, and then after a Will Bremer pickoff for Darien, it's Rollup to Tom again, but this time on a fumble recovery in the end zone. Darien up 2 scores. But on the last play of the half, Afton Barnes with a pick 6 on a screen pass as time expires to get Naugatuck within 1 score at the break, 28-21. I don't know what Darien was doing there. They look like it's like the Redskins in Super Bowl 18. I don't know what you guys are doing, throwing the ball at the end of the half. But in the second, Tom scored his 3rd touchdown of the game midway through the 3rd, and Jet Hall, in his final game, bulls into the end zone for a touchdown to pull the Hounds within 35-28 after 3, perhaps some hope, but Darien puts this game away. Caesar scores with 7:13 left, and that was it. Naughty turns the ball over on down, and Darien advances to the semis with a 42-28 victory. On the other side, another strange game. Number 4, Newtown facing number 5, Shelton. Back and forth game in a familiar game. This was the fourth time that these teams have faced each other in the last 10 years in the playoffs. And it was a back-and-forth game with neither team able to get to the advantage on the other until an absolute fluke on the final touchdown of the game with 58 seconds left. With 58 seconds left in the third quarter, Jaden Taylor scores his third TD to pull Newtown within 28-27, pending the extra point. But, oh no! The extra point is botched, but kicker Ryan Zanuski corrals the ball and heaves it into the end zone, where Grady Marks pulls it in for the 2-point conversion and a 29-28 Newtown lead. And that was it. Shelton never scores again. Taylor, with a great game, finished with 9 catches, 101 yards, and 3 touchdowns. J.J. Haddock ran for 142 yards on 19 carries. Kanye Tinnen had a nice game for Shelton with a couple of nice TD catches, and David Dodge-Lickel scored a couple of touchdowns. But that fluke 2-point is the difference, and Dan Farina, in his first playoff game, defeats Shelton. The first time Newtown's defeated Shelton in the playoffs. They advance to face Darien. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm excited. Our kids played awesome. Great effort by everybody on this football team, whether it be the guys on the sideline or the guys in between the lines. We really gave it a full effort. We never, when we got down, we didn't pout about it. We came out with some fire and just got a big team win on our home field. It was special.
Wow. Shelton. Oh, I guess they beat him in the regular season in 19.
In 19, there was regular season.
They had never, no coach at Shelton had ever beat, no coach at Newtown had ever beaten Shelton in a playoff game. Crazy.
Yeah.
Good for Dan.
Good for Dan. So that is so they get there, they face a team that Dan should know all about, and that would be number 8, Darien. In the first meeting between these two since we came out of the COVID week 2, or was that week 1, a Darien victory on the way to the state championship, and then, of course, obviously, the last time they faced in a playoff game was the legendary Paguaga game, the Sandy Hook game where they walked off on a touchdown pass late. The one that the touchdown pass that was everyone heard around the entire world as Newtown won just an epic all-time state championship, 13-7 in 2019. So that is the first playoff game since they faced. And in the bottom half of the bracket, wasn't nearly as interesting. New Canaan 49-14 over Soren Reef and Killingly. Alex Benevento, what a season he has, took the opening kickoff, 81 yards for a touchdown, and then scored his team's final touchdown on a 65-yard interception return as the Rams advanced to the semis with a 49-14 victory. Soren Reef in his final game ran for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. But New Canaan easily advances into the semifinals against Maloney. Your guy, Pete, Dante Kelly, ran for 3 touchdowns and took the second half kickoff, 82 yards for a touchdown, as the Spartans fly into that semifinal, 42-20 over South Windsor in Class L. And we have a rematch of last year's Class L final, won by New Canaan. What was the final score? 16-13, I think it was. And instead of a finals rematch, we get them in the semifinals. But big moment here for Maloney. Pete, what do you like in this one? Oof.
I said I know, right? Big breath. I know I said on last week's show or 3 days ago show that no one beats New Canaan at home. No one beats Lou at Dunning, especially in a playoff game. But I think it happens. I'm taking Maloney. I said this last year. Maloney was the better team last year in the finals. Maloney played a better game. New Canaan had Tyler Groff, who is one of the greatest kickers in state history, who made the difference in that game. Maloney scored on special teams. Dante Kelly had a receiving touchdown in that game. Maloney's defense played really well. But New Canaan did the little things in that game to win. I think Maloney has learned a lot from that game. I think that game has been watched time and time again. I think you got 2 of the best players in Dante Kelly and Alex Benevento going at it. I mean, really what we should just do is just do kickoffs for 4 quarters and just watch them go back and forth. Let's get Omrani Reed there too. That would be a lot of fun. But I think Maloney gets over the hump. I think they win this game and they head back to the finals for what would be the 3rd year in a row and 4th out of 5 seasons.
Pretty good. Pete, I'm going to go the other way here. I'm going to take what you said last week and push it forward. Buchanan's defense, it's really funny, and Ned Griffin brought it up at the game. Buchanan's defense the last 3 years has just been nothing short of just awesome. They've had awesome players. It's like a complete reversal from the pre-pandemic where they were quarterback you. You know, it was just every QB came into town. We had all sorts of guys, and that was what New Canaan was known for: the spread offense, the high flying stuff. Now they're known for defense, and Alex Benevento is one of the best. Chisholm's one of the best. I think it's going to be a really close game. But how many teams come down the dummy field and beat Lou Marinelli? And it's going to be tough. Going to be a great game. I'm just going to go with Buchanan here. Moving up the ladder a bit, here is another tough one. What a great semifinal this is. I don't know which one is better, this or Double M, but again, number 8 Darien plays a Newtown team that's really fascinating. Dan Farina get Newtown back to the final here. Oh my goodness! But maybe I've been underestimating them, Pete. I'm going to go first. I'm going to go with Newtown here, Pete. I'm gonna finally go. I think I picked against Newtown every time we I don't know. I haven't seen them yet, so I have a hard time. I haven't seen Darien either. I haven't seen New Canaan in a while. It's really weird. But I'm just going to go with Newtown here. It's going to be at Balloon Gold Stadium, like the home team here, David Haddock, and the gang. Taylor had a great game. I'm just going to go with the Nighthawk. Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Newtown here, too. I was very confident that Darien would beat Naugatuck. The 28 points allowed by Darien scares me. They made a lot of mistakes in that game that kind of left the door open, and Naugatuck took advantage, and Darien was able to pull away. You can't get away with that against a team like Newtown. Absolutely not. It just can't happen. But I would be excited for the future at Darien with Roach and Tom and Rolap. I mean, those guys are going to be good, and it might even be as early as next year how good Darien can be. But right now, I'm going to go with Newtown. I mean, what a great story for Dan Farina to get that job and take him right to the finals. It took a long time to get there in 2019, and then for them to get back.
Imagine him getting back to the final again with a whole different team. It's unbelievable. He was obviously the OC last year. I mean, it wasn't the greatest. They weren't exactly known for offense, as I mentioned last year at New Canaan, but he's done a great job so far. I mean, so that is Class L, and I would like to say kind of chalk. I know it's not chalk, but in the Class Double I think it's basically chalk happening here. According to
our selectors, no one picked Manchester. Yeah, so it was chalk for us, including our Manchester reporter.
Yeah. So Southington, all the teams that we thought were going to get to the semifinals get to the semifinals. Let's start over at Manchester's Memorial Stadium. They're playing in their first state playoff game in 30-something years, but you want to talk about performances. Rashard Williams, who had really kind of a mixed bag Thanksgiving. It was mostly rough. He got beat on a lot of plays. He had the fumble on the kickoff and allowed Cheshire to get back in the game. He came back with a vengeance. He scored 5 touchdowns, 3 on passes from C.J. DiBenedetto, 1 on a run, and then a kickoff return, a touchdown, and also had 2 pickoffs. 2 of 6 that the Blue Knights had against Manchester. Manchester was within 14-7, but turned the ball over on 3 straight possessions. Southington finally cashes in on the third one. Williams' pickoff led to a 21-7 halftime lead. Manchester got back within 21-14 on a Julian Henderson touchdown run, but Williams returned the ensuing kickoff for a TD. Just what a great game he had. Andrew Mycos also had a good game. He had 2 interceptions. They get a rematch versus Staples, 34-27, won by the Wreckers on September 22nd in a game that I think you were at, Pete, right? Or no, were you at that game?
Which game? Southington Staples? No, I was at Bloomfield Masuk, the game where Masuk's defense allowed 50 points.
Oh man, he's not going to let him let that one down. I think we should send you to the Masuk Wilton game, Pete.
I hope they clip it, motivate him.
Yeah, they were chirping at you, Pete. They were chirping at you, but Pete's just like, keep chirping. I don't care. You're not good. You're okay.
I didn't say they were bad. No. I didn't say they were bad.
Anyway, in the upper part of that bracket, the game that you went to, Pete, number 1 Staples hanging on for dear life against Fairfield Prep. Staples escapes 13-12 over the first losing team in CIAC playoff history. Pete, you were there. What happened?
First off, we're going to clarify some comments I saw online. People wondering why Fairfield Prep kicked to make it 13-12 when they were within, the Morris run got them to the 7. Prep went backwards on the next 3 plays. Okay, there was nothing to show that they were going to get in the end zone all of a sudden. So they kicked the field goal, they got the points, and they lived to see another day. They had the opportunity there at the end. But if we jump all the way back, again, this game, you pick Prep. These teams played last year. There's a lot of there's a rivalry kind of brewing.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the opening kick, Staples returns it, boom, puts it right on the ground. All of a sudden, Prep's got the ball, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go. Staples defense, who Caleb Smith says is the best defense in the state. So them, Masuk, great. We got all the best defenses in the state. And they hold him to a field goal. Caleb Smith breaks a big, long run, touchdown, boom, all of a sudden, 6-3. Like that. Kind of slowed down a little bit. Prep gets in the end zone. My guy, Finbar Malloy, with the TD, gives them the lead, right?
And
they go to line up for the extra point. They go up to line up for the extra point. Oh, well, of course, I got the Finbar Malloy point. We're going to make that a thing because he's coming back for his senior year. So we're going to make that a thing. But they go to line up for the extra point, and Staples gets called for a penalty. They move up. They go for 2. They don't get it. It's 9-6. So instead of it being 10-6, it's 9-6. We go to halftime. Teams, again, just kind of throwing punches back and forth. No one doing anything crazy. Staples able to move down the field. Caleb Smith, again, who else? Who else but the best quarterback in the state? Punches it in for the touchdown. Gives them the lead, 13-9. You had the Morris play where Petrosino catches him. They hold him. They kick the field goal, 13-12. Staples trying to run out the clock here. Caleb Smith fumbles, gets knocked out, gets knocked. Ball comes out, Prep jumps on it, they move right down the field. Obviously, they went for it on 4th. They didn't get it. Staples celebrated. Got out of there on the hair of their chins. Look, we knew this game was 2 of the best teams in this bracket. Okay? This is the game that no one really wanted to get Prep in the first round. Prep gave it everything that they had. Their defense played so well. But they lost their running back, Davis, in the first half. He was on crutches at halftime. So John Morris, who's one of the best defensive backs in the state, one of the best football players to take going to UConn, is taking instead of taking the Wildcat or the goal line or the jumbo, he's carrying every ball. The offense just couldn't get through Staples. And, the Wreckers are on to the next round. And
we can talk about it now. It's over. It says yours. You guys are going to the semis.
Yeah.
What's the emotions going through your mind on that final drive where you fumble the ball and they're moving down? What's going through your head on the sidelines?
Our defense is going to stop them. Like I've been praising them all year. They've been great all year, and they were the ones that came up clutch. Our offense, I made a big mistake, and they made up for it. They had my back. They've had my back all season, and I can't wait for the next one.
I don't think they're afraid of Southington. Southington was up, 2 scores on them?
Yeah, early. 14-0.
They didn't care. They blew the doors off of them.
Yeah. Pete's a big fan. Pete is on the Staples train. You picked up the win.
Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy here. Let's not get crazy.
So Staples will face number 5 seeded Southington in the rematch of that game. And the bottom half of the bracket, number 3 West Haven. Now, we famously lost pretty embarrassingly to Glastonbury in last year at home in last year's quarterfinals. This time, still took a little time beating New Britain. Armani Reed, though, decided he was going to, carry them into the semifinals. Caught 10 passes for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he was also a demon on defense as West Haven shook off some ghosts and reached their first semifinal since 2017. Corian Harris had a key interception, and Jaden Allen for New Britain ran for 149 yards. But West Haven, the number 3 seed Westies, going into the semifinals, and they will face Greenwich, which defeated Stanford 47-21. But this game, like the first meeting, was kind of close for a good amount of time. Elijah Harris for Stanford had a great game, had a great season for them. Returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown to put the Black Knights up 7-0. And this game was back and forth 20-21 at the break. But on the first play of the second half, it was Greenwich this time with the quick strike. Rocco Grillo hit Noah Park for an 80-yard touchdown, and Greenwich scored 26 unanswered points to advance 47-21. Grillo finished 15 of 21 for 348 yards. My goodness, with touchdown passes of 17, 55, and of course 80. He also ran for a 15-yard touchdown as the Cardinals now go in to face the game we all wanted to see last year, West Haven at Cardinal Stadium on Sunday. So that game, very tough. Pete, would you like to go first on any of these? Which one do you want?
I mean, I'm going to take Staples over Southington rematch. That one for me is not really, it's not a slam dunk. I think Southington's a talented team. I think, Williams, Anderson, and Flynn might be the best wide receiver group in the state. But they can't run the ball. Their defense, hard time stopping people. And Caleb Smith's the best player on that field. And when you have Caleb Smith and what he calls the best defense in the state and what he calls the best offensive line in the state, I'm gonna back him. I just think he's so talented. And it's crazy. Not that he didn't come from nowhere, but he didn't start as a sophomore. He was on JV. This is a guy who came in, won the job last year as a junior, and has done nothing but win games for Staples. It's pretty impressive. So I think they're going to get to the finals. They're going to get over Southington. Do I want to pick my other one? No, you have to pick the Southington Staples game.
Yeah,
sorry, I was jumping ahead.
I would really like to pick Southington here, but, I don't. 6-4. It's not your typical Southern team. And the fun part about it, they got all this talent. Ray Williams is great. He's had a great season. But sometimes you wonder what's going on at Southern. You guys should be. With all the guys you got on, I think you'd win a lot more. I would love to pick him here. You're up 2 touchdowns first time, but you're allowed to Staples come back, and it was the Caleb Smith show. So I kind of see that same type of scenario. I'm going to go with Staples. I think they get to the final. Adam and the guys, good luck. And Pete, on the other side, Greenwich versus West Haven. Finally, injuries kind of mounting a little bit there for Greenwich, where I think West Haven's starting to feel a little healthier. Who do you got in this one? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first in this one.
Right.
It was good to see Sebastian Parra played for Greenwich.
Yep.
I know some people didn't know whether or not he was going to play in that game. He got hurt in the Thanksgiving game. That definitely shores up their defense. Him and John Insignia. Did I do it? Insinga. Him and John Insinga form a really good linebacker duo for Greenwich. The thing that worries me about Greenwich is the back of that defense, right? The DBs, because West Haven can make big plays. Armani Reed is electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie, woogie. Okay? He is a phenomenal, phenomenal football player. You saw what he did in the quarterfinals, 10 catches, over 100 yards. He's got 4 special teams touchdowns. The kid is electric. Can Greenwich contain him? I don't know. I think he can win the game for West Haven. I think Greenwich can do a good enough job of containing the run. And then on the flip side is, can West Haven limit their mistakes? Okay, we've seen West Haven in these games, they make mistakes. They forced Cheshire to fumble the ball 6 times and were leading by 4. Okay, they were about to put Shelton away, and they threw a lateral pass that turned into a touchdown, and all of a sudden they went from being up 21 going in the half to being down 7, to being up 7. Okay, they are a little mistake prone. Greenwich is not. And in a game like this, with a lot on the line at Greenwich, I'm going with Greenwich in this game. I think this is a different Greenwich team than played against Staples, and I think this is why they did it. I think we're going to see Greenwich Staples in the final, and we're going to see the two of the best teams in the state go at it for the Class Double-L championship.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I really want to pick West Haven here, but I'm just trying to envision this in my head, and I can just see it. As you mentioned, they sometimes when they're really good, they're great, and then sometimes though some things happen to them, and that prep game really kind of opened some eyes there. I was kind of stunned. They do seem to make their own luck, and I could definitely see them hanging in this game. I definitely see them this is going to come down the wire. I just think Greenwich has just enough guys to pull away from this one, and I think it's just overall just the better team, and they will get to the final against Staples. So that'll be fascinating, that rematch. And if West Haven does win, we'll get a rematch of that season 1. That'll be a good bookend game for those two. But I see it as a rematch of the Thanksgiving Day game, and then we'll see the playbooks opened up and
we'll see the actual. I was talking to the Staples coaches after. I'm like, so come on, you guys were just feeling yourselves out on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, no. I'm like, all right, fine. We'll talk about this after. We'll talk about this heading into the finals. Yeah.
We certainly will. I mean, like you said, they were not. It didn't really matter who won that game, did it? Unless you wanted to face Fairfield Prep.
Well, the thing was, look, the loser of the game got an easier first round match, and the winner got a more favorable semifinal match if they were able to get past Prep. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah. So there you go, Pete. That is it. That is the semifinals. Those are the picks. We didn't really run down the board here, but it's getting kind of tight at the top there. I mean, you had a great week, but did not make much ground.
No, I got 3 wrong. I won, and I moved like 1 spot up the standings.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have plenty of time to hopefully who is it? Barker still leading? Is he at the top?
No, Stewart's up by 2 now.
Uh-oh.
Barker has plummeted down the standings. Stewart leads by 1 over Forno. And then Will Aldham is 2 back.
Oh, my goodness. Just a crazy, all the guys. So the cream once again rises to the top in the picks. I'm sinking like a stone. I had a terrible semifinal. Oh, sorry, quarterfinal. So,
hey, do you want to hear a fun fact before we log off?
Sure.
Remember that fantasy draft that we did?
Yeah.
Every one of my selections is still in the playoffs, but Cheshire defense.
Interesting.
You have Conlon, Knighton, Kerr, the North Haven offensive line, and the New Canaan defense.
Yeah.
Left.
Obviously, Jack Nye's not there anymore. Who else was there?
Nye, Jeffrey, and Johnston.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Now, Nye and Jeffrey made the playoffs at least.
Right. Yeah, well, when you do the fantasy, you don't count games. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just saying. I still got guys. Okay. I picked winners.
You picked if it was who was going to get to the final, all right. We should have done that instead of picking fantasy.
I'm just saying. I know.
And he is just salty. He is just throwing like shade at everybody. Not even shade. You're fired.
I throw shade at those who throw shade. They cast the first stone. I cast 5 back.
Pete's gonna have to get knocked down a few pegs. He wins it from a playoff week. He wins a pick week, and then he is just pointing his fingers at everybody. I told you, I got Darien. I got this. I got your Sean's. I got your fantasy teams worse than mine. Jeez. Karma, Pete. Karma.
The best part. Oh, I know.
Karma.
I'm sinking. What didn't I go like 2 for 10 last year in the semifinals or whatever it was?
Pete's salty.
Well, I'll tell you, the reason I did well is because I picked Newtown, and the reason I only picked Newtown is because the entire town of Shelton would have come to my house and taken me away if I picked Shelton.
All right, so we'll call that a podcast. The picks are in, and we'll see you out there. Make sure you check your schedules for who's playing when. We had a few. Not all the games are at 12:30. You had a few games moving up. I believe Ansonia got moved up to noon at home at Derby. But the rest of them, for the most part, as far as this recording goes, will be at 12:30 on Sunday. So happy semifinal week. When we talk to you next, we'll be on to the finals. We'll see who's left standing. So for Pete Paguaga, I'm Sean Patrick Bowley. This has been the Meat Grinder and the Pickens podcast on GameTimeCT.
With extra salt, I love you all.